the first way of taking inputs, which was a console-based method, and it was very text-based. And the second method I mentioned was this J-option pane method, which is a graphical way of taking inputs. And I personally like this method because it has fewer steps in it, and it also makes your programs look a bit more modern, but one is not a replacement for the other. They both have purposes, and that's why I'm showing them both. So in this one, you still have to import the class, and this time this class is called JOptionPane. So let's go over to the Java API and search for JOptionPane down here in the bottom left area. And now you can see the documentation for JOptionPane, just like you could see the documentation for the scanner class that we looked at earlier. And again, it'll show all kinds of details how you can on how you can use JOptionPane for different things. Now, one thing different about JOptionPane is how it allows you to take inputs as well as display outputs. So that's one difference. So after you do the import statement right at the top of your program, you need to you get straight to the input taking part. You don't need to create an object of JOptionPane like you had to do with scan. So that's a bit of a convenience. So we say JOptionPane dot show input dialog, and inside the brackets we give the prompt in a single line. So you don't need to print it first and then ask for the input. You do it in a single line, and you don't need to create an object of JOptionPane. So at the same time, you don't need to close JOptionPane as you had to do with the scanner object. So you straight away get into the input taking part, and the inputs that come through show input dialog are all of the string type. So if you're taking a string input, that's all you need to do. You say, you mention the name of the variable, that's the string variable, and then you say equals JOptionPane dot show input dialog and the message that you want as the prompt. So that makes your life very easy if you want to take string inputs. For integer inputs, you just need one more little thing. What you do is this part, or the string that you get from the input, you put it inside the brackets of parseInt, which is under the integer class. Now earlier we talked about data types, and we said integer is a non-primitive data type that is closely supported by the language, and this is one place where the integer class is useful. So this will convert a string with an integer into an integer as long as the user enters an integer. If the user enters something that is not an integer, that's a little bit outside of your control, and you don't need to worry about those things at this stage itself. So same story with doubles. If you want a double, you still use JOptionPane.show input dialog. It'll give you a string, but then you put that string inside double.parseDouble, and then it'll convert that string to a double. And I said that you can display messages as well. To do that, what we use is a method called showMessageDialog, and the first value inside the brackets has to be null. And again, there are reasons behind that, and we are not going to get into those details right away, because right now we just want a way to take inputs. Later on we can look at what those things mean and how we can do things differently. So the second part, or the thing that you put after the comma in show message dialog boxes brackets, is the actual message itself. So that part is very similar to how you display a message So let's try doing the same program that we did earlier, but using JOptionPane. So I am going to create a different Java project. I'm going to call this JOptionPane demo, GOP demo, and say finish. I will add a new class called friendly greeter because it's just a different implementation of the same program. So I'm going to have my original scanner version over here for reference in case I forget something. But essentially what I want to do is get the same program to work but using JOptionPane. So again, we have to do this import business. So here we say import java x.swing.j option pane, and you can get rid of this line. And if you don't remember, the thing that we first did was we got the name, then we got the age, height, weight, and we did a few calculations. We can actually take these calculations, take that calculation straight away from what we have here and put it there. But let's take the name, the age, height, and weight first. So as I said, all you need to do is create a string, all name, and then you say j option pane dot show input dialog, and then you give the prompt. So enter name, just like that. And then right at the end, we might want to display it. So to display it, we can say j option pane dot show message dialog. And remember, we said we want to put null as the first value, and the second value is the greeting itself. So we'll say hello name plus exclamation mark. All right, so let's just see how this program works right now as it is. So I'm saving it and I'm running it. So it's saying enter name, and so similar prompt, but you can see it's in a graphical window, which I can move around, and I will say okay, and then it says in a different window, hello Guyane. So let's fill in the middle parts also. Now the next thing is the age. So we need to take the age as an integer. So int age equals, and you do the same thing, j option pane dot show input dialog, and you say enter age. But I said that this thing returns a string, and that's what it's saying right now as an error message, cannot convert from string to int. So to convert from string to int, what you do is you say integer dot pass int, and then you put what we had earlier inside the brackets. So I'm just going to space things out so it's easier to see. So this part is the part that takes the input as a string. This becomes the string that the user enters. And if that contains the age, then it'll be converted by this part into a proper integer that can be stored in the age variable, and everything will be fine. So similarly, we will take the weight, I think it was the height next, enter your height. So this exact same prompt I can put over here, enter your height in meters. But now this time we are putting it into a variable called height, which is of the double type, and we want to say pass double instead, and this comes from double. So double dot pass double, and these were shown in the lecture slides. And the weight is not too different from height, it is a double. So and we just say weight here instead, and kilograms. And then finally we get the height, we get the weight, and then we need to calculate the BMI. So that's that part. So we do the exact same calculation as we did before. And then finally, we want to print this exact same message, but we will use JOption pane for it instead. So what I can do is I can copy this part and then copy the message I want and plug it in here straight away, and let's run it. So enter name, I will say John, and age 90 years old, healthy, 2 meters tall and 90 kilograms, and it'll say hello John, you are 90 but your body mass index is 22.5, and that's exactly the same output we got, but this is now graphical. And that's how you take inputs and show outputs using JOption pane.